For all updates on CAT Prep, please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon.
Hi, welcome to Bodhi Prep. Here we have one more RC passage. This is a reading exercise. And today we have got a new passage from a different genre, and that is literary criticism. So, if you look at the past year CAT papers, you'll find that there are always a few passages that talk about literature or some sort of literary subject. So, today here we have a similar passage on similar lines, and we will read the passage and we will see how we should have read this passage if this had come in the exam, right? So we will read every paragraph and we will try to understand every paragraph, uh, whatever we can understand from that paragraph. Again, I'm repeating that when you read an RC passage, it is quite possible that you may not understand each and everything, but that should not bother you much. Whatever you understand might be enough for you to answer all the questions correctly. So here we will adopt a similar strategy. We will read every paragraph and we will see what we have understood. What we have not understood, we will just ignore, right? So it says here, the task of creative work is to weave something new and wonderful out of the tattered threads of culture and convention. So the author says, what is a creative work? And he says it is to weave something. On the enchanted loom of the mind, our memory and experience, our personal histories and cultural histories interlace into a particular pattern which only that particular mind can produce, such as the combinatorial nature of creativity. So what is it says creativity is basically combinatorial. I mean, it combines lots of things. In describing the machinery of his own mind, Einstein called this interweaving combinatory play. It cannot be willed, it cannot be rushed, it can only be welcomed. The work of creativity is the work of bearing witness to the weaving. Now, when you read this paragraph, lots of things have come, but then what we understand here is that the word creative work, creativity has frequently come. That means this passage is talking about creativity. And what is it talking about creativity? As if how creativity is born. So they have given the word combinatorial. That means you combine lots of things uh, to become creative or to show your creativity. And towards the end, Einstein has put something, and it says it cannot creativity cannot be willed, it cannot be rushed, it can only be welcomed. So creativity comes on your own. So when you read this paragraph, how would you summarize it? That creative work or creativity is a combinatorial process. It combines lots of things, and it comes on its own. It cannot simply ask it to come. That is what the broader idea is. Let's go to the second paragraph. The inner workings of that unvillable loom, which we often call inspiration. So author says inspiration is something that comes to you. You don't get it by calling it. The inner workings of the unvillable loom, which we often call inspiration, is what Rainer Maria Rilke explores in a beautiful passage from his only novel, The Notebooks of Something, which also gave us Rilke on the essence of art. Decades before, pioneering psycholinguist Vera John Steiner noted that in the course of creative endeavors, artists and scientists joined fragments of knowledge into a new. So what happens here is that this looks very much like, oh, what's going on, but if you understand this, here we have perspective of some person, Maria, and there is some psycholinguist, but what they have to say, that is more important. They have to say that artists and scientists join fragments of knowledge. And what is this called as combinatory process? So here too we have a repetition of what has come in the earlier paragraph. The whole creative activity is basically combinatorial. You join fragments of knowledge, right? It cannot be willed. Inspiration comes to you. So again, similar information with two or three new people coming in the earlier para we had Einstein. Here we have some two new people. We don't care much about them, right? Further, it says, for the sake of, so Rilke writes. So what has come in the subsequent paragraph is what Rilke has to say. For the sake of few lines, one must see many cities, men and things. One must know the animals. One must feel how the birds fly and know the gesture with which the small flowers open in the morning. One must be able to think back to roads. So when you read this kind of a thing, it is not information that the author is giving us. Rilke says that for the sake of writing few lines, you must experience lots of things. That is what he's trying to say in summary. So you might give thousands of examples, but they all serve the same purpose, that to write a few lines, you have to experience lots of things. So it says here that you must be able to think back, you must be able to do this to days of childhood, to parents that one had heard when they bought one some joy and one did not grasp it, to childhood illness that so strangely began with a number of profound and grave transformations, to days in rooms withdrawn and quiet, and to mornings by the sea, to the sea itself, to seas. Now look, he's writing, extending, but without adding much. One must have memories of many nights of love, none of which was like the others, of the screams of women in labor and of light whilst sleeping, women in childbed closing again. But one must also have been beside the dying, one must have sat beside the dead in the room with the open window and the fitful noises more than half a century before neurologist Oliver Sacks enumerated forgetting among the three essential elements of creativity. So Rilke says that to be creative, what you must have. So he says to be creative, you have to have many experiences, and you should be able to combine those experiences, being beside the dead and looking at the dead dying, spending uh, moments in love, in thoughts of love. So he basically wants to say, and if you read this whole paragraph, he says that to be creative, you must have many, many experiences, and once you have many experiences, you will join those experiences in the moment of inspiration, and that is how you would be creative. Further towards the end, more than half a century before neurologist Oliver Sacks enumerated forgetting among the three essential elements of creativity, Rilke adds, and still it is not enough to have memories. One must be able to forget them. So Rilke says in the earlier paragraph that you should have memories to be able to become creative, and now he says that you must not just have memories. It is also important that you must be able to forget them when they are many, and one must have great patience to wait until they come again, for it is not yet the memories themselves, not until they have turned to blood within us, to glance, to gesture, nameless and no longer to be distinguished from ourselves. Not until then can it happen that in a most rare hour of the first word of a verse arises in the midst of goes forth from them. Now you will not understand much of this paragraph, right? This is something that really goes above our head, but doesn't matter. What he's trying to say is that one must be able to forget. So just as having memories is important and coming off the memories is important to be creative, similarly you must also be able to forget. So what must be written, what has come here must have to do something with that. I don't understand, but I don't care about it. So that is what we mean. You have to form your summary, your comprehension based on what you understand, not based on what you don't understand. Because if these things that you don't understand start troubling you, then you won't be able to comprehend the passage within the shortest amount of time, and you will lose your way in the exam. So it says, for it is not yet the memories themselves, not until they have turned to blood within us, to glance, to gesture. So all is a figurative language. If there is a question, you will have the options to assist you. But without the question and the options, why should you bother about it? So if you read the whole passage, it is not a very long passage, almost 500 words. But what has it to say? It talks about creativity, as to what creativity is. And then it says creativity is combinatorial, and something Einstein has come, and the work of creativity cannot be willed. That means you cannot wish, I mean, you cannot say it come to me and it comes to you. It can only be welcomed. So it is like inspiration. It can come to you when it comes, otherwise it won't come. So then Mr. Rilke has become very important part of the whole passage. He talks about what creativity is, and he talks about creativity on similar lines. That yes, creativity is combinatorial, because if you look at your memories, you have so many memories, and you combine all these memories, and that is how you become creative. But towards the end, he says it is not enough to have memories; one must be able to forget as well. So if you look at the whole paragraph, then it is talking and discussing from creativity perspective, primarily from Rilke's perspective, as to what Rilke has to say about creativity and the process of creativity. And what he has to say is very much in tune with what has come in the first paragraph, that the creativity process is combinatorial process. That's it. So this is the way you have to read. You have to be smart while reading. You should know what is important, what is not important, what you understand, what you don't understand. And once you create a create a certain image, or a central idea of the whole passage, and then go to the questions, it would be relatively easier for you to eliminate the options. And once you look at the questions, you can always visit back the passage.